Welcome back to Analytical Media. We are a consortium of therapists, college professors, and well-published, peer-reviewed authors. And today we will ask you a question. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? And of course the answer is two people, the shadow and Carl Jung. That line, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men, is from the radio program. A work of art, actually, and should be considered such. Some early radio, some early television, some early movies are actual works of art and should be considered that way, not throwaway material. And The Shadow was a frightening program, a scary radio show, which brought along the horror genre of movies, or that type of thing, scary movies. And it should be considered for what it was. Just there's no visual, of course, it's radio. But it frightened many people. And children loved it. Not young children, of course, older children. It was very frightening. A lot of younger children were forbidden from listening to The Shadow. It's kind of mystery. Frightening topics about evil, and however, the evil wasn't known as the shadow. The evil was what the shadow, a man, a detective, a superhero type person, would fight. He would fight evil. Now that's what the shadow knows. Now let's talk about what Carl Jung knows about the shadow. Let me give you an overview. Most websites or channels that are claiming to understand Jungian theory do not. They don't. And since his death, since he's been unable to defend himself, authors, publishers of various kinds have either deliberately or mistakenly misrepresented Carl Jung. I'm going to tell you what the shadow is and what it is not. In Jungian theory, the shadow, as well as the conscious mind or the ego, emerged from the unconscious. They came from the unconscious. And as such, we have a link first to the personal unconscious and then to the collective unconscious, the deeper, bigger, broader thing. But we have a personal unconscious which has to do with us. It's kind of the dark side, the hidden side of the ego. And the shadow represents evil, the bad stuff, the unacceptable stuff, the socially unacceptable stuff, the morally unacceptable stuff, that which the ego pushes away. Yet this part of the mind exists. And it expresses itself. Think of it this way. As a human being, you can understand up. You can experience up. However, it implies and creates automatically down. Love creates the concept of hate. What's the opposite of hate? Love, or something like that. So what I'm saying is, hate creates the concept of love. The ego or the conscious mind tends to associate with those things that are socially acceptable, what we would consider good, because that's easily accepted by other people. The bad stuff, hate, murder, abuse, killing, indiscriminate killing, harming other people. Harming other people, it automatically creates helping other people. Christianity believes in helping other people. It automatically creates harming other people. What's the opposite? You can see the creation of opposites. You understand helping other people, then you understand harming other people. So these things, the shadow, is not directly a part of the conscious mind, but is connected to the conscious mind. And it lives in the personal unconscious. Anyone who really understands Jungian theory will accept what I'm saying. It's fundamental. It's the people who believe in astrology and the paranormal and ghosts and witches and monsters. It's those people who will reject what I'm saying because it doesn't fit their projection or their interpretation of Jung, and it doesn't fit it because it doesn't help them. They need somebody special and big and powerful and a great thinker to support their crazy nonsense. And that's the truth of it. You want the truth, you got the truth. And so you see all these outlandish things. What I'm telling you is strict and to be backed up in a moment by quotations from Jung's work. Not from other people's interpretation, but Jung directly. Now, you may be aware of this. Perhaps, if you're insightful, you may be aware that when you've been petting your dog and your dog starts to walk away, you had the urge, the impulse, the idea, the concept of grabbing the dog by the tail, pulling him back, perhaps lifting him up. And right away, you, the conscious mind, says, no, that's disgusting, that's sick, I would never do that. But you did have that thought, or you may have been petting your little kitten and you love that little kitten and that kitten is so special to you and you would never hurt that kitten, but while you're petting it you think, my hand is right under its chin, my other hand is around its neck sort of, the way I'm petting it, and if I pulled those two hands apart I'd snap the kitten's neck, the kitten would be dead. And then right away you think, that's crazy, that's nuts, that's true, but that's sick, I would never do that. I reject that with all my being. And that's you, the conscious mind, rejecting the shadow. And so, how is the shadow a good thing? It prepares you in advance of the actual event. You will have rejected the idea of picking up your dog by his tail before the opportunity occurs. You will have rejected breaking the neck of the kitten when that urge hits you, that thought comes into your mind. It's already been rejected. And also something else you might think about is a lot of people, if you've ever been close to a cliff or the edge of a roof and you look over, you may have had the thought or the urge or even felt yourself being pulled over the cliff or wanting to take a step or falling forward over the cliff, of plunging to your death or severe injury or harm. You felt that in the past and you immediately rejected it, like, no, I'll never do that. No, it's insanity, get back, don't get that close again. And in the future, you will not get that close again. Or when you start to feel that urge coming back a little bit, or that whatever you think of it as, that idea, the concept, you immediately step back. You've been prepared for it. So that's the value of the shadow. Now, we'll start right in with Jungian quotes right now. The most intense conflicts, if overcome. Now, when he says conflicts, he means conflicts between good and evil, between the ego and the shadow, because the ego is good, basically, and the shadow is bad entirely, expressing all the negative thoughts. The most intense conflicts, if overcome, if settled, if resolved, they're over. There's no more conflict between the ego and the shadow. There's no more conflict. Leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. The resolution of that conflict has strengthened the ego. The ego is going to find the sense of security and calmness. That's what he's talking about. The ego will find itself feeling more secure and calm because that conflict between the shadow and itself has been overcome. It's been settled. So these conflicts with your unconscious, when they are overcome, and sometimes they are not overcome, they're fought off but not overcome, not resolved, not settled, not calmed, but when they are, They leave you, the person that's listening to this, the ego, the conscious mind, it leaves you. It's all one and the same. It leaves you a sense of security, safety, and calmness. You're calm. Carl Jung. And it's not easy to change that, he says. It's not easily disturbed. Let's move on to the next Jungian quote. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is, the shadow. At all counts, it forms an unconscious snag, thwarting our most well-meant intentions. So he says, everyone carries a shadow. And he says the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, meaning the less it is known in the individual's conscious life, or the individual, the ego, in his conscious life, the blacker, the darker, and denser the shadow becomes. He says at all counts, which means absolutely in every way, it forms an unconscious snag. It's there bothering you, hurting you, as you try to do good things. He says, thwarting our most well-meant intentions. This unconscious snag stops us, it screws it up, it inhibits it, it transforms it negatively in our most well-meant intentions. So we mean to do really good, but it gets screwed up because of this black, dark, dense shadow. All because we're not aware of what's in the shadow, what the shadow says, what it does, or its very existence. So we need to be aware of that. We need to look through the shadow and consciously accept good things. Reject the evil, accept the good. Next quote. Closer examination of the dark characteristics, that is, the inferiorities constituting the shadow. So the characteristics that make up the shadow are of lesser things, poor things, things we would reject consciously, or society would reject, or religion would reject, or morality would reject. And he says these inferiorities reveal their emotional nature. It means these things from the shadow, things that live in the shadow, affect you emotionally, their feelings, their urges. I like to refer to it best as urges. You have the urge to step off that cliff. You have the urge for a second to snap the neck of that pet. You have the urge to hurt your dog. Not the desire. You don't desire to do it, but you think, I could do this. I have the power to do this right now. I can do this. You feel it. That urge, that feeling like I might do this. I might just do this. I feel like I want to do it if my fingers are itchy here. It's just the shadow affecting you through urges. An urge. So, the inferiorities constituting the shadow reveal that they have an emotional nature, a kind of autonomy. Right, a kind of autonomy that's not you. It's not you, the ego, or the conscious mind. There's something else living, urging you, motivating you, and that is the shadow. He says a kind of autonomy, and then he explains it a bit. He says, and accordingly, an obsessive or possessive quality. Obsessive or possessive quality. Thus, one can ruminate. One can have a recurring thought. One can think repeatedly about how easily they could break off a dog's tail, or break the structure of the tail, or pick it up, or hurt it. They have the power. And if you don't realize you have the power, you cannot stop from using that power, can you? You need to know, I could do this, to stop yourself from doing it. You don't want to say, I didn't know I had the capability of doing that. I never thought I could have done that. I never thought I had that in me. So we need to be aware of the fact that you got it in you. You could do it. for you to choose not to do it. I hope that makes sense to you. Another Jungian quote: in myths, the hero is the one who conquers the dragon, not the one who is devoured by it. And yet both have to deal with the same dragon. Also, he is no hero who never met the dragon, or who, if once he saw it, declared afterwards that he saw nothing, meaning the dragon wasn't there. Equally, only one who has risked the fight with the dragon and is not overcome by the dragon wins the hoard, the treasure hard to attain. He alone has a genuine claim to self-confidence, for he has faced the dark ground of his self and therefore has gained himself. The dark ground of himself is the shadow. And if you have faced the dragon, the shadow, and you won, well, you are the hero. And you have conquered your brain, your mind, your psyche, your being. You've conquered it. You are in charge now. He alone, I'm repeating this last line, he alone has a genuine claim to self-confidence, for he has faced the dark ground of himself and thereby has gained himself. This experience gives some faith and trust and the ability of the self to sustain yourself, for everything that menaced him from inside, he has made his own. Not everything that has menaced him from outside. The dangers from the outside, they still exist. But the dangers from the inside, he has overcome them. He faced them. He didn't run from them. And he overcame them. He owns himself. He owns the totality of his psyche. He has acquired the right to believe that he will be able to overcome all future threats by the same means. He has arrived at an inner certainty which makes him capable of self-reliance. I have an exercise I used to use with clients, and I'm not going to repeat it here because it's inappropriate, but if you're interested in it, I might find a way to do that, but you would have to let me know. Right now, I don't think it would be appropriate. This is a means through dreams to gain control. He has arrived at an inner certainty which makes him capable of self-reliance. He can deal with the world. He believes in himself. He doesn't have dangers from outside and inside at the same time. This is from the book. This is another Jungian quote coming up from the book, A Psychological Approach to the Dogma of the Trinity. The integration of the shadow cannot take place and be put to a useful purpose unless one can admit the tendencies bound up with the shadow and allow them some measure of realization, tempered, of course, with the necessary criticism. This leads to disobedience and self-disgust, but also to self-reliance, without which individuation is unthinkable. So he says that one must admit to the tendencies that are bound up in the shadow and allow them some measure of realization. So some of this negativity, some of these more disgusting things, they must be allowed, he says, some measure, that means a little bit, of realization. They have to become real a little bit. And he says tempered, of course, which means you have to pull them back. You cannot allow them to run wild. You have to hold them in. You have to temper them, bring them down, but you have to allow them to exist in some degree. And he says, and as they exist, you will have the necessary criticism of them. This isn't good. So you're allowing this negativity that you feel to be expressed in some way, tempered, so it's a safe way, it's a mild way, and at the same time, as it's occurring, you're allowing this, its freedom, tempered, of course. You give it the necessary criticism. And he said that will lead to self-reliance, without which individuation cannot occur, is unthinkable. And individuation is self-actualization, and you can see what we're talking about here. He says the enlargement of the light side of consciousness, that would be the growth of you, the ego, the good part, has the necessary consequence that the part of the psyche which is less light, that's the shadow, and less capable of consciousness, because the shadow isn't very conscious, you can barely pick it up, is thrown into darkness to such an extent that sooner or later a rift occurs in the psychic system. So, you have consciousness growing positively in light. It's the light, it's the good consciousness growing. And then the other part of the psyche, the shadow, which is not very light and not very capable of consciousness, is pushed into or thrown into the shadow, into darkness, to such an extent that sooner or later a rift occurs in the psychic system between the shadow and the conscious mind. At first, this is not recognized as such and is therefore projected. It appears as a religious projection in the form of a split between the powers of light and darkness, good and evil. That comes from the book, The Symbolism of the Spirit, Carl Jung. And here is the last Jungian quote. And I hope you're liking it, and I hope we haven't dragged it on too long, and you like to look at things in depth, because we are. Jung says, and this is from his work, The Dogma of the Trinity, the situation which is more common and more familiar to the average man is that in which the ego identifies itself with the ethical values. Like, I'm the ego, I'm really good, I'm all good, not bad at all. Even though he has a shadow that's trying to make him bad, there's a shadow inside him. The identification takes place by means of an identification of the ego with the persona. The ego confuses itself with the facade, personality. And before I read the rest of that line, I would like to say he's saying that the ego, which is really you, expresses itself to the rest of the world in a socially acceptable way, the ways that are allowed in our society. But that projection, that presentation, is a facade. It's not real. It's not what's on the inside. It's just what's on the outside. It's like saying if you drove down the street and you saw a house that was painted all white, and you would think, that's a white house. If you went inside, everything might be painted black. Would you still think of it as a white house when 90% of it, 99% of it is all black? All the furniture is black, the rooms are painted black. Might be better to think of it as the black house. But you can't see inside the house. You can only see the facade personality. So the facade house, the facade of the house, every home has fascia. That's a part of your closing off the roof. It's the part that faces out. It's parallel to the house. And the part underneath that is the soffit. Well, the word fascia comes from the word facade. It's the outside covering. So the ego confuses itself with the outside covering or facade personality, which is, of course, in reality, only that part of the personality that is tailored to fit the collective. So, your persona fits the collective. You do not. You twist and turn and you wear a three-piece suit, button-down shirts, whatever. You fit the collective. Today, we have our total collective is somewhat split up into subdomains or subcollectives, and you identify with your subcollective, which makes no difference to his point. It is still identification to the collective. And so he makes some brilliant concepts here for you, presents them to you. The idea that you're not real, the real you's the ego. And you very carefully protect that ego, cover it up, put on a suit, say certain things, wear your hair a certain way. You conform to that part of the collective that you feel you belong to. You conform to it. This means that the ego has repressed the shadow side and lost touch with the dark contents, which are negative, and for this reason split off from the conscious sector. The ego has repressed the shadow side and has lost touch with the dark contents. It doesn't see them, it doesn't understand them. This is a perfect way to explain to people, and I oftentimes do, that the world is a bad place. There's lots of bad stuff in the world. It can be really, really bad. Listen to the news. Follow the happenings in criminology. The incredibly horrible things that men do to men. Or, better put, the shadow expresses through man. The world could be a really ugly, dangerous place. Make no mistake about it. There are good people in this world. There are people who would never hurt you for any reason. They would help you literally in any way, take you into their home, comfort you, care for you. And in return, they would want nothing. On the other hand, there are people who will steal your car, kill your baby in that car, shoot you, kill everyone in your home, do despicable, torturous things to everyone you love. That's out in that world, right alongside the good people. And perhaps the psychopath is the uninhibited shadow. Nothing inhibits the psychopath. They do what they want. They do what they feel like as long as they're not going to get punished for it. They'll kill you, but not if a cop is standing there. If they think they're going to get caught, they're going to be good. And if they think they're not going to get caught, they'll express who they are. They'll kill you for your shoes or for your bus pass. You know that's true. Do some research. Please don't lie to yourself. See the world for what it is. No better and no worse. This is analytical media. We hope we've given you something to think about. We hope we've given you some insight. If we have, if you've benefited from this, please help us to reach more people by liking this video, commenting, subscribing to the channel. It'll help YouTube to send this message out to more people. That's how it works. That's the algorithm. Look for our next video. We hope all has gone well for you, your family, your friends. Hope everything will continue that way. Stay tuned. Hope to see you again. Take care.